Alright, the Lenovo Legion 7i with the 12th gen Intel CPU, the HX version. Now that's a gorgeous device. Honestly, I was never a fan of the RGB gadgets, especially keyboards, but when this one came in person, I gotta admit, I changed my mind. It's really nice. Okay, so I couldn't find a lot of information about this device so far. There's a lot of information scattered here and there, but I still had a lot of questions about this device, so I ended up purchasing it to answer these questions. And hopefully I'll be able to stick with this device, to like it enough to stick with it. So this one is the here we see the 12th gen Intel. It has 32 gigs of memory, and it also has the NVIDIA RTX 3070 Ti. So I'm just gonna try to answer some questions that I still had before I purchased, because this device has been really delayed this year, and I think I am one of the first people who are getting the HX version. So I ran a couple of tests, a couple of benchmarks, not the best ones, but something to give you an idea. So this is Cinebench R23. I ran the multi-core test, and this is the result. As you can see, 20,300, almost 400, which is pretty good for a laptop. I did run this a couple of times. I think this is the highest score I had, but the other ones were around 20,300, so within margin of error. The other tests I ran were the user benchmark tests. So here is a couple of them. So on the gaming side, it's a UFO. On the desktop side, UFO. Workstation, that's a bloody UFO too, 174%. So I keep getting this message though, that the CPU throttled at 91% by Windows. Ensure maximum processor state is set to 100% via the settings, blah blah blah. So the settings are set to maximum, but this keeps happening, and I actually had the MSI GE77 before this Lenovo, and I kept having the exact same message popping up. The MSI GE77 were also had the same specs, and by that I mean the Intel 12th gen HX and the 3070 Ti. So a quick comparison between the results that I had with the GE77. This is the GE77, 144, 109, 174, and this is the Lenovo 151, 111, 174. So pretty comparable. And to be honest though, I did end up returning the MSI, and I'm gonna try to show you why. Alright, as you can see, this is a really gorgeous machine, and to be honest, it feels premium to the touch, very, very sturdy. Um, it is basically perfect to me. We have all these ports on the sides and the back. I'm sure you can find all the information you need about the ports online, so I'm not gonna wait that. So the way the MSI felt, it felt much cheaper. It was still sturdy, but this is honestly in a different league. And this one is currently $2,900. I honestly cannot believe I paid that much for a laptop. But currently there is only one model, which is the one that I have, 3070 Ti, 32 gigabyte RAM, DDR5, 4800 speed, and it's in dual channel. While the MSI, it's the 12 UGS version. That's the one that I had. Basically just means slightly different specs than the other ones that are not UGS. There is UHS, stuff like that. So this one had 8 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the same thing, the 3070 Ti. My main issue with the MSI though, I kept having problems with it. Like the third day from after owning it, I was on the MSI forums looking for solutions. I'm not gonna start on a rant about the MSI laptop, but you can ask me if you're interested. I'll answer in the comments. But I ended up returning it. That's why I got this Legion. And so far so good. This is still the first day, and honestly I am loving this one. You know, when you get a product and you just have a good feeling about, that's how I'm feeling about this Legion. Plus the MSI did not have a fingerprint scanner. This one does, and the speakers on this laptop are way better. Like I said, the build quality is much better. The speakers happen to be a better grade than the one on the MSI. Check this out.
Have a look at this. It's the new Lenovo Legion 7i, and according to Lenovo, it is the world's most powerful 16-inch gaming laptop.
So I don't know if you can hear it, but when you are here in person, the sound feels full and coming from both sides. On the MSI, honestly, it was nothing special. Also, the MSI had all this RGB stuff going on, but honestly, this RGB situation over here is just on a totally different league. The MSI one was nice, but I honestly, standing here in front of this one, you can feel this one more. This one is much clearer, much brighter, even though the MSI one had a piece here at the front that was all RGB. This one does not, but still this one emits more light and you can see it through the keyboard. The MSI one was not as clear. Maybe I'll be able to show you that piece that I'm talking about. It's this one here at the very front. That one is customizable. This one, it's a customizable RGB piece, but hey, Lenovo takes the win on the RGB. Also, the RGB can be modified. This one has a bunch of modes, so when you click the if in button, when you hold it, the keyboard shines on these special characters. The Q switches modes, so now it's on quiet mode, so it's shining blue. The circle in the middle, that's the power button. If I change the mode with the Q, now it's on auto, so now it's white. And this is the performance mode, it shines red. I'm gonna keep it on silent mode. What's cool though, check this out. You can switch between RGB modes like this. This is the matrix effect. It's pretty neat, I'm not gonna lie. I was never a fan of RGB. I thought it was just extra unnecessary accessories, but I am becoming a fan now. Of course the MSI had that stuff too, but to be honest the shortcuts rarely worked, and the MSI software just took 30% of that 16 GB RAM, and it just was very buggy, the software. Also, one more thing I want to mention, probably the only thing that the MSI was better at or is better at is the thermals. So these are the thermals after running all the tests. I had each hardware monitor on while doing the tests. The temperatures on the CPU did reach 100, and it was a consistent 96, 97 on the CPU while Cinebench was running. And for the GPU, well, of course I did not stress test it, I guess, with the benchmark that I did, but it did reach 100% of utilization. If we look here, we can see it did reach 100% of utilization, but as far as temps go, it did not get hot at all. So the temperature basically on the hotspot was 70, so that tells you that I did not really stress test it, I think, even though I did overclock it, to be honest. And when I overclocked it, the results on the benchmark here were pretty much the same. I ran it a couple of times with the overclocking, and one time I got slightly lower scores, and one time I got around the same scores. So I guess with overclocking you need to really stress test it, and you overclock it from the Lenovo Legion Vantage, I think, yeah, the Vantage software. There is GPU overclocking. You switch this button, you go to the settings, and I pretty much only did this like 10% and this to 5%, like this, but that did not seem to have an effect on my testing. Then on stressful testing. Also, one more thing I noticed, so now it's in the GPU work mode is on the dedicated graphic cards only. If I want to switch it to hybrid mode and save, it will say change will be effective after a restart, right? But I also noticed if I come from the NVIDIA control panel and I switch it from there, it does not ask for a restart. But anyway, maybe I'm missing something, you know, I'm not quite the expert on the advanced Optimus whatever shenanigans, but this is pretty much it. I just wanted to answer a couple of these questions with a quick comparison with the GE77. Also, I didn't find a lot of information on the GE77 when I bought it, and still until now, so hopefully this covered some of the missing information out there. As far as thermals go, just to finish up, even when everything was running full throttle on the CPU and it was 100 or like 97 Celsius for quite a while. The keyboard, the WASD was not really warm. It was comfortable to the touch, so it would probably be okay to use it while running like that. Right now, it's slightly warm, and I'm in a room that is around 74 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not warm and not really cold, just like nice. So, but it's also on the quiet mode here, and I honestly did not hear the fans at all, and I didn't notice them kicking in throughout this whole video. On the balance mode, they did kick in while the computer was idling for maybe like 10-15 seconds, nothing too crazy. But the fan noise from this Legion, nothing compared to the MSI. MSI was like a drone at some point, especially on full performance or full power. The temps on the MSI did only reach like 85 degrees, between 80 and 85, but mind you, the MSI is a 17-inch, so it has a bigger chassis, more ventilation, and it was much louder. If I remember correctly, the GE77 that I had also had similar scores on Cinebench, around the 20,000, so I would say pretty comparable in terms of CPU performance. So the MSI had a lot of software on it. You could control the RGB per key. You could customize and program it however you want to. This has presets like this. They're pretty nice too. I don't know if this one will have software to control the RGB like the MSI one. This is basically a quick and rushed video to answer these questions. I will be doing some more testing and hopefully answering your questions in the comments, so let me know if you have any. I still did not have time to play any games on this laptop. I don't see myself playing many games, but maybe I can run some benchmarks if you ask me. If you're interested in any specific games, I can run the benchmarks for these games. Alright, thank you for watching, and peace. One last detail I might have forgotten about: the maximum graphics power is 150 watts, which is pretty much the maximum for this graphics card. The MSI I think boosts to 175. This one might boost 2. I am not sure. I've heard and read contradicting things, but so far so good. And like I said, you can overclock it. I just didn't overclock it to the max. And allegedly you can overclock the CPU too. Maybe that's more into the BIOS rather than the Vantage software. And also the screen is really nice. It gets really bright, like especially when you put it on performance mode, it gets really bright. I think I changed the settings, but that's how it was. But I honestly cannot look at it even when the lights are on. I cannot really look at it when it's in full brightness, so it should do really well outside in the sun. And just to prove how rushed this was, one more thing. I got this in the box, and it mentioned something about force sensing keys for the WASD keys. So there is a software that comes pre-installed. It's called Hydra, and apparently these little guys here, the WASD, will be able to sense how hard you are pressing on them, and you can program how they react based on how hard you press through this Hydra software. And you can choose all these games and you can add more games here. Basically program what they do based on how hard you are pressing inside that game. So there's Call of Duty, Dirt Rally 2, Doom Eternal, Dying Light, FIFA 22, Forza Horizon 4, all these goodies. I don't play any of them. Assassin's Creed, but if you do, you might like it. And yeah, I did not hear anything about this online, not even on the Lenovo website. So this was a really pleasant surprise. And also, it came with this little toolbox. Now this toolbox has some instructions and has some pieces, and it has this kind of a screwdrivery thing, and apparently this helps you take off some of the keyboard keys and replace them. And these are the instructions. So there is the keycap removal. I don't know why anyone would do this. I'm definitely not gonna, but if this is your thing, you are encouraged to do so by the Legion family. They even gave you this nice toolbox, and it you put this back in here and you close it like this. It's kind of like magnetized, locks nicely on itself. Very neat. Like I said, it feels really high quality, and a lot of thought went into engineering this piece. Alright, that's about it for me. Leave any questions, suggestions, ideas. Bye.